If you
My
do, I'm gonna
people.
take over.
What up, though? We back with another episode of All Black Men Need Therapy. My name is Chief.
And I'm Bell.
My name is Prentice.
Prentice still ain't got a microphone, y'all. I'm trying to tell this nigga, man. Anywho, P, check in.
You just looking.
I don't like how we starting this shit off. We ain't talking. Y'all niggas talk about I ain't got no mic.
Yeah, listen. Since we here, you ain't got the microphone calling you out. You don't have a microphone. You've been telling us you was getting one for a while now. You also told us you was going to therapy. That hasn't happened. So I'm starting to feel like you lying to your friends. Yeah, we putting this on the podcast and leaving it there. So I mean, Bell, how you feel about that?
It does have a point.
It's
not often I agree with him
right
either,
now,
Prentice.
We don't need to start off with this much negativity. I ain't talking to niggas like that.
It ain't negativity. It's accountability.
All right, but what we talking about?
We talking about what's happened with therapy and why you tell your friends you going and ain't been there yet.
I started, but life is popped off. I ain't got no good excuse.
Okay, I'll just at least go with that then. Give me that. So I would appreciate if you didn't lie to your friends because
I'm not lying. I'm not lying to y'all. I just haven't gone back for that shit.
Well,
you know, Chief be taking that shit personal.
Yeah, because I care about my friends.
Are taking it personal at this point, but
because I don't like my friends to lie to me.
All right,
like,
but
Chief would go to the corner store and ask for a certain type of gummies, and then the dude behind the counter, but yeah, they'll be here on Saturday. That's when deliveries come. He'll get there on Saturday and flip. Like you said, they were going to be here on Saturday. I came on Saturday because you said they were going to be here. Just be a man of your word.
Just do what you say you're going to do. Yeah, just do what you say you're going to do.
That's the type of shit to be on.
Hey, accountability partners all over the world. Don't tell me something.
Who's checking? Who's on checking? Prentice?
Prentice. He's supposed to be checking there right now, but we had to check in on him first because we had to check him first because he was lying to his friends. Y'all send us an email and cuss Prentice out and tell him to be a better friend because I don't appreciate being lied to.
This is hella extreme right now. All right. Well, shit, man. On what was that? 13 days ago, a man by the name of Kevin Burnside, who I've known since I was 12 years old, used to come and just kick it with me. Ended up being my pro fight in my chapter, Epsilon Mu, San Jose State University. When I got married and was broke as hell and needed a job desperately, he finessed the situation and got me a very good paying job that lasted for 5.5 years, doing a lot of good, powerful work, community work with kids and working in social services. He passed away of cancer 12 days ago. And that was the same morning I was leaving to start our tour, our Grammy Run tour that we're doing in Hawaii. So the day I was leaving Hawaii going on tour is the day he passed away. And Hawaii distracted me from it because I was there. It was Hawaii, and it was great. The show went phenomenal. Both shows, the theater. Shout out to Manoa Valley Theater, my man Z from Baltimore. It went great, but I came home and it was like whoosh, back to reality. And I didn't realize I didn't talk to him every day. But I mean, 5.5 years of my life, I saw him damn near every day because he was my boss's boss. And he looked out for me when I was, just in life in general. But I realized he was the most consistent man I've ever had in my life for the longest. He was literally, and I didn't realize it until after he passed away, but he has been there since I was 12 in so many different capacities, and I didn't really realize it. But I say all that to say that I think I'm grieving. And I'm grieving for the first time, but and it's weird. I be crying and shit, man, and getting hella upset. And then 1 minute I'm motivated, and then the next minute I'm crying. And his funeral was 2 days ago, so I had to do that, which I was absolutely dreading. I talked to you, Bill, that earlier that day, me and Bill was talking. I was just like, well, I don't want to do this shit. So I went to the funeral, man, and that shit was hard as fuck. I had to be on stage for a minute when we did our frat thing, our alpha business, and paying our final respects. I didn't have it in me to say a word. It was really hard, bro, and I had to dip after that. Like I didn't even stay for the whole shit. I had to dip. It was also Anaya's birthday celebration. Anaya's birthday was on the 22nd of February, so that was cool. I want to add some good things in here too. And I got to see Anaya while I was in Hawaii on tour because her mom surprised her in Hawaii for a birthday trip. So that was cool. Back to Kev. The funeral was a lot, man. So I'm realizing I'm grieving and I'm not used to this shit. So it's foreign. It don't feel cool. Yeah, that's where I'm at. You know?
Sounds like a roller coaster of emotions.
Definitely.
Yeah, in a short amount of time, man. So, this is my first time really. I don't lose people I really care about, to tell you the truth. I'm learning that too. I haven't felt a loss like this before. You know what I'm saying? Like this one got me and I didn't know it was gonna get me like this. So yeah, man. But I'm good though. You know what I'm saying? I had an event at the Chase Center at the Warriors game with Dear Fathers. Shout out to Dear Fathers, the organization.
Yeah, I saw your IG. I saw you in the stadium.
Yeah,
That was dope.
That went dope. And then we rocked out the Black Joy Parade, which is a huge, huge day downtown at home in Oakland. And that performance went well. So I've been really busy in the midst of this grieving. So it's interesting how much life right now, career-wise, is distracting me. And then when I'm alone, that shit got me fucked up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at. But I'm good though. But I'm still good. I'm still good. I'm just fucked up.
You know it's okay if you're not though.
Yeah, no, I do. But I recognize that I'm not pushing myself through the days. I'm not pretending that I'm in a funk. I allow the emotions to come whenever and however they come. And that's the not okay part. Because when it comes, I don't feel okay. But yeah, I know it's okay to not be okay. And I be not okay a lot. You know what I'm saying? Right now with this shit. But I'm learning how to manage that shit. I'm learning because it's just weird with this grief shit, man. Like you want to fold and then you know that he don't want you to fold. So I find myself talking to him and shit and then getting motivated. And then next minute I'll be sad. The next minute I'm talking about some other shit and I'm fine. And then I think about it and I'll be fine. And I'll think about it again and I won't be cool. So yeah, that's my check-in, man. I'm all over the place with the emotions, but I recognize what's going on.
So just know in those moments when you're not okay, bro, you can reach out. I got, so I'd like to consider a pretty vast experience with grief. So holla at me, man. We can walk through some of that shit together.
Yeah, I should, but I didn't even think of that yet. Like I didn't even get there to be like pick up the phone. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So remember the irony behind it was that your daughter's birthday is my brother's anniversary.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So the same day. So when you mentioned grief in the text message before, I'm like, yeah, it's crazy because I tried to prepare myself for that day. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Wake up in the morning, it's like, I'm not really that good. And it's crazy because it's been 14 years, bro. But like I woke up and was like, damn, like it was on me heavy. But the day before, I'm like preparing myself. I know it's coming. You'll be all right. You ready to go.
Right.
It's just, it's just gonna be stuck with you for a while. Again, I'm 14 years in, bro, and it didn't feel like yesterday.
Yeah, everybody says that. I think the interesting thing is, again, like he was such a pivotal part of my life, and I knew it. I knew it the whole time. Like I patterned who I am as a man after Kevin. He had old school muscle cars. He lived good, but he was low key and just handled his business. And I always liked that about him. So I literally patterned who I became, especially when I became an alpha. I really patterned who I was after him because he was one of my pro fights who brought me into the frat. So it was even more like I used to emulate that cat. You know what I'm saying? And I made no qualms about it, but I didn't really put it it's on a larger plateau now that he's gone than it was before. But I absolutely patterned what type of man I wanted to be off of what I seen in him growing up. So I haven't thought of picking up the phone or even talking about it yet because it's still like I feel like I've been so busy since he passed. Like I went to Hawaii, I was there for 3 days, I got back, then we had shows out here, life, the kids, the family. So it's just interesting, man. It's just interesting. I don't know how to explain it yet. It's interesting.
Well, it sounds motivating to me too. So Sounds like you're moving, it's fueling you in a way you didn't anticipate to, although you have your pockets of sadness. Like it sounds like it's still fueling you. So that's kind of good.
I
Hey,
don't know. It might.
let me ask you this. Did you tell him all those things you just told us? Did he know that?
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, Kev knew that because he had stages when he got sick with the cancer and it would come back. And when I worked for him, I ended up dipping and I ended up being mad at him because he wouldn't cut me no slack. He wouldn't let me transfer. I was trying to transfer. I was trying to wiggle and shit, keep my job and make it work for me. And he already was doing everything above the sun to make sure I kept my job despite traveling all the time. But I got mad at him when I left, and that's near the end of the previous marriage. And I didn't talk to him for a long time. So when I did talk to him, I felt hella bad. And I was like, yo, Kev, I'm sorry for not talking to you, man. I was mad. You know, I love you and blah, blah. So I said, absolutely.
That's good.
He knew. Yeah. He absolutely knew.
That's definitely what's up. Go ahead. What's up, baby? I'm sorry, P, you done?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm in a very clear space.
Okay.
I get it. Like it's been a lot. My 2023 has been kind of crazy, man. Like travel, like I mean, it's only February 27th, and I done been to Poconos, Cancun, Dallas, Orlando, Jacksonville, like all at the top of the year. New job, just been a lot of life stuff going on. But I can say honestly that I'm probably more. I'm the clearest I've been since I was in college and I got my spot taken by a freshman. I had to go through all those emotions to then just realize that only you can change you. You know what I'm saying? So through that tough patch for me, I was battling depression but didn't know it. And I think right now, I've probably been depressed, not realizing it, probably for like the last, I mean, easily 3 months, 4 months, easily. You know what I'm saying? But you don't, at least I didn't know it while I was in it. I only know it now because I'm clear. You know what I'm saying? So, for me, it's it's about, so and I don't want to take too much time, but I'm living my goals, meaning not like financial, nothing like that, just personal development, self-development goals. Like my goal is 3 books a quarter. I'm on my 4th book right now. And I'm reading a book called Mindset. And bro, that shit is so deep. Like I suggest both of you read it.
It's called Mindset.
Called Mindset. I can give you the author. I can give you the author right now, actually. I'm on, and again, I'm only on chapter 4 or something like that. But maybe chapter 5 at this point. But it's Mindset by Carol Dweck, PhD. Really good. Like holy shit, really good. But anyway, yeah, man, I'm just clear, man. Like I feel how I felt when I made the decision to take my spot back. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how I feel. I just feel like I've been letting myself down. And Chief and I spoke about this at length the other day. Letting myself down by relying on talent, right? And natural God-given ability and not putting the work in. And convincing myself that it's somebody else's responsibility. You know what I'm saying? So I've already made my mind up that this is going to be the hardest I've worked in my career thus far. I've already made that decision. So I'm ready to put that work in and get my desired result. Because what I realized, again, it's just deep. What I realized is I'm just real good. I'm just good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm good. Like, I'm not
Yeah.
great. I'm just good. Like, but it comes a point where everybody's good. And in order for you to be good on that level, you have to put the work in. You can no longer just show up and allow yourself, your God-given ability to carry you. And I think that's what I got caught up in that. And even in mindset, they talk about that. They talk about when kids get praised over how good they are at something, but not the work that's required, it gives them a false sense of reality. You know, it's like, for as great as Michael Jordan was, nobody worked harder. You know, like that's the thing that a lot of people don't talk about, right? For as great as Tiger was, nobody worked harder. That's the thing. So they say that people can be gifted, right? Naturally good at something, but that innate ability to be successful at something at an early age drives the curiosity to want to keep doing it. So you talk about like these math wizards and stuff, and what happens is they love it so much that they practice it all the time. Yeah, they are gifted, but they practice it all the time. And that's something that I wasn't doing. I was showing up feeling like I was enough, but I realize now that it's another level of work that has to be accomplished for me to get to where I want to go. So that's where I'm at. I'm clear, man. I'm real clear. Bought a house this weekend. I ain't closed yet, but I didn't do anything. Me and the guys, we got one. So yeah, I'm good, man. Other than that, I'm clear. I'm focused, and I understand the work that's necessary.
That's what's up.
That's great, man.
Yeah, I'm glad because it was the conversation the other day. I'm glad this was the end result of it.
Yeah,
you was kind of heavy on yourself, but
yeah,
I'm glad
and that's the thing is I wasn't clear. Right, the last time we recorded, I wasn't clear. Yeah.
What happened in between them?
So I was listening to this speech. I listen to it every morning by Napoleon Hill, and he talks about poverty, illiteracy, and there's one more, the top 3 things that people.
You got to fix that light, bro. This is a production, man.
Nigga, but I'm tired of twitching in the fucking dark every 7 seconds. My bad. I'll figure it out.
He talks about those are the 3 things that hold people back. And the people that focus on those things never get to where they want to go. And I just keep listening. I kept listening to it. And then it talks about your mind is the only thing that you can control. So then I had to do an evaluation of myself. And I'm like, quite frankly, I'm like, yo, I'm out of problem. Now, granted, there were some things that were done and weren't done for me that I can make an argument about, which is what I've been doing. But it's like, that's not getting me nowhere. All I'm doing is focusing on what I don't have. When I know I can go out and figure out how to get it done, regardless of who was supposed to help me or not. Like, it's like, you have to be basically, you have to play the cards you were dealt, not the ones you wish you had. And I heard that in the Will Smith book, which I just completed. And that's the type of time I'm on. You know, it's like, nah, man, you good. Go figure it out. Right? Go do the work. Don't sit back, say, woe was me. That's another episode we're gonna talk about at some point. It's like how do you know when you're the problem? You know, and it's like, again, I don't think it was 100% my fault, but I do believe that I have a great a heavy hand in the outcome, and I got to participate in my own rescue, and that's kind of the time I'm on. It's funny because this kind of ties into the topic, but go ahead, Chief, do your check-in.
On
too.
Nah, I definitely got a lot going on, bro. So I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes, just waiting to release some stuff for the Grammy project. tour dates and, you know, all that stuff. So all that stuff's coming. That's not really what's stressing me out. So today at work, they call me into the office and I'm involuntarily transferred to the expulsion site. And I'm just like, all these people in the building, you knew about this. Nobody said anything to me. I walk into the principal's office and they sitting there and I'm just like, all right, whatever. So then that's that. Pissed me off, whatever. So then.
Is that on campus or is it somewhere else?
Somewhere else.
Down the hill.
No. It's a completely different site.
Oh.
Damn.
Yeah.
So it's away from the house.
Yeah, so, but it's not that bad. It is what it is, man. I'll make that work. But again, I just feel like it's all lining up, telling me to just go ahead and jump. Like I've been waiting and debating, and it's just like I've been preparing myself for behind the scenes to make it happen anyway. But I think it's just the universe speaking to me now. Like, what more has to happen for you to get it, bro? You know what I'm saying?
How did you get selected?
I call bullshit, but I didn't really get too deep into it. I just like, yeah, all right, whatever. Where do you want me to go? You know what I'm saying? Just kind of walked out like, whatever, you know, because I've expressed how I don't feel appreciated in my role at all by anybody in the district. You know what I'm saying?
But that's been a constant though, no?
Right. So I just do what I do and keep it pushing. But so that's been weighing on me. Some other stuff happened with my direct supervisor just blatantly lied to me. You know what I'm saying? And it was just like, that's just not cool. But it is what it is. I'm gonna keep pushing. The kids are happy and healthy. I got some big goals lined up, some things I'm working on, kind of excited about it. Outside of that, man, I'm good. Just had the anniversary of my brother's passing, and like I was telling you earlier, that was heavy on me. Mom's was my mom's had a good time. Y'all went out to eat. My mom's, my pop, my brothers and sisters was selling, and we had a real good time. And
where'd y'all go?
It's just a new spot by the mall, Tavern on the Square or something like that. It was pretty cool, low key spot. You know what I'm saying? We had a good time. But that was that. So moving into it, fellas, I still want to talk about, we got to get an off scene and talk about it, but I feel like because I was watching some older stuff, we jumped right into it. I thought that was cool, but as far as the check-in is concerned. Nevertheless, today's topic.
Before you go to the topic, what's the deal with your contractor?
Oh, we good. We good.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, I got some stuff working on. I'm tearing my house. My house is all, I got 2 rooms like done. We good on that. I'm about to, we good. He was going to maybe put hands and feet on them, but we all right. Long story short, my people, you get a contract and don't give up no bread until the work is done. No initial deposit up front, none of that. Just I keep going against my own grain, but I gave this dude.
And listen to your best friend when he's talking to you about
I gave this dude a whole
best practices.
Bunch of bread. When I say a whole bunch of bread, I mean a whole bunch of bread, but it's all good. And at this point, I ain't gonna have no job, so I put hands and feet on him quick.
Prentice Chief was like, well, nah, Bell, it's a lot of money, but you know, this amount went to this, and he had to buy that. I was like, oh, he bought it to your house yet? He's like, nah. He's like, then he had to get all these materials, so I gave him somebody for that. I was like, oh, the materials at your house yet? He's like, nah. I was like, oh, you ain't got nothing, brother. Like, what we talking about?
But 3 broke down rooms. But listen, yeah, I might not have a job anyway, so it's gonna be nothing to put hands and feet on this cat. I got nothing to lose at that point. Nevertheless, so we talking about I wanted to move into a topic, fellas. I had a discussion a while ago on my homie's podcast. Shout out to Hamp and This Might Be Risky podcast. But we had a conversation about
entertaining podcast.
Yeah. So basically, the podcast P is my man Hamp. He's a character in himself, but Hamp like poses a very controversial question, and then like the way he words the question is almost like target, and you got to pick a side. This might be risky. Like pick a side, and then we'll talk about it. You know what I'm saying? But he kind of makes you pick a side first. So one of the questions was like, did women ruin the safe space for men? Like already, you know what I'm saying? So it's already talked. So women feel some type of way. Nevertheless, the answer that most of the guys gave was yes, and they gave several reasons why. And in communicating with a lady friend of mine about the safe space, she, in efforts to try to create one, ended up ruining it. And I think once the safe space is violated, we don't feel safe anymore. Men just shut down and know that that's not a safe space for us, and we ain't going back. We cool, but we know where we can go with this now. You dig what I'm saying? So I thought it'd be good for us to talk about that, to define what it means to us, and then perhaps throw some gems at people / women as to ways or things they can do to help curate a safe space and keep it safe. So my initial question for you fellas is, do you so back it up a little bit. So even in regards to women, sometimes like we know as men, traditional men who still carry those old school roles, I guess, as being providers and protectors. And when you're doing that, ultimately most women feel safe. No? Like that's a woman's number one thing to talk about. Men, he makes me laugh, you know, he takes care of me, he makes me feel safe. But that's something that's almost subconsciously done for us. And oftentimes it could be just from
and
stature.
not all men.
Well, true, but it could be something from stature, like who you are, how much money you got. Some dude just with a bunch of muscles, so she feels safe because she with a big dude. You might can't fight, but you know what I'm saying? He still makes her feel safe.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
you dig what I'm saying?
Shit, and she can be taking care of him, but she's safe.
Right. So there's levels to it. So I wanted to talk about what safe means for you, not necessarily the space right now, but just in general, like safe. Like Pete, can you tell me?
Wait, let me go
remember?
First.
Okay. Do you remember, or can you tell me when you felt most unsafe? And when was the last time you felt unsafe?
So here's the interesting thing. Like I said, when we spoke offline about us talking about this, and I'm reading the treatment, I'm like, I've never had this conversation before. Right. So I've been married 5 years in May. And here's how I operate. And let's talk about it. But I know I have a safe space with my wife, or I know I do. I never utilize it though. For instance, me saying that I was depressed is the first time I said it out loud, period. 10 minutes ago. Right? And she lives with me every day. Another thing, this whole clarity. Like I had a business meeting in Dallas last week. It was our global summit or whatnot. But nonetheless, I got very clear down there. Like that's where everything hit me. And instead of me sharing what my experiences were, what I did is I woke up Saturday morning at like 6:30, and just started writing my thoughts. And I'm gonna do something with everything I put down, but I don't need to share that. But the point is, I wrote it down, and I'm like, hey, it had nothing to do with her, but I emailed it to her as a way of me sharing kind of what I've been going through. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't tell her, even though it's safe. I just didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's almost like for me, maybe it's subconsciously, it's like, I don't want her to worry. So I'm like, even though she wants me not to stress about her worrying, and she wants me to give her some of my burdens, but I just won't do it. Like there's been times where I'll leave, right? Like I'll be like, yo, I'm driving to New York. I'm about to go see my man. Matter of fact, Prentice, that time I was in Brooklyn. That's when all this started. You know what I'm saying? That's when all this started. And I needed that ride to help clear my head. And I went to go chill with my man. And she gets upset because she's like, well, why don't you confide in me? And why don't you allow me to help you? And then I say, you know, this is not about you. This is what I need to do for me to feel better. So that's what I did. But yeah, in short, man, I find myself not going to that space, almost like I'm trying to protect that safe space, just protect it from any outside influences so it can remain safe, if that makes sense.
It does, but my question to you is, how do you I understand what you're saying, but is it really a safe space if you never use it?
Yeah, but that's the thing, it's so safe. That's what I'm saying.
How you know that?
Because I don't want to tarnish it in my head. So, I'm not saying any of this makes sense. Right? I'm just telling you, this is how I rationalize it. Like, Like, she's a fucking life coach, for God's sakes. So she can walk me through what we need to do, but I just never leverage it. Or I'll leverage it by way of text, not text message, but like an email.
So, but I think that you made a very, very interesting and valid point that I've yet to assess. But like, not like our job is to protect and provide, and in order of protecting our women, we want to keep them safe.
Right.
And if we feel like putting our burdens on them is going to put them in a position to be uncomfortable to carry our burdens and makes them unsafe, therefore we don't want to violate that.
Right.
So I completely get it, and that makes an abundance of sense. But
that's something that I've never vocalized. Like I said, I looked at this. I'm like, I never even had this conversation. But
so I know
this is prompting me to do that.
Well, I was about to say, I was just about to ask you that. So even though it's, it's fresh and a new conversation, do you think you might take a different approach in terms of maybe not, completely putting it all on the table, but like just tapping into that safe space, or maybe just having this conversation with her and helping her understand like why?
Nah, you know what I would do? I would tell her to go watch the episode.
See, and so which again will allow her to understand some things, but I think afterwards, at least debrief about it afterwards. I think that conversation is important.
Yeah, but it's, and as I'm reconciling these feelings in real time with you all right now, what I'm believing to be true is I won't allow myself to get that vulnerable. Meaning, I'm ready to talk to her about it once I'm through it. You know what I'm saying?
Not in the middle of it.
Right.
Let me figure it out first.
I'm not saying that's right. I'm just telling you that's kind of that's been my approach, because it's like,
but that's
I'm about to get through it.
Yeah, that's that stuff that we have been trying to break, though. It could be a trauma response, and just in terms of how we've been conditioned, like we will figure it out and then double back if I need to, just so you know where I'm at, rather than talking to in the moment. So I put some. It's interesting you say that, because I put some up on Facebook the other day, just kind of asking people, and I'm like, I don't necessarily know if you take your space, but it may look like that from her. So what I was saying was, sometimes when people find themselves in situations, they take their space from those who care about them and figure it out, right? But in the same, so if I'm the person who the space is being taken from, I take it personal, because I'm like,
wait, say it one more time. I'm a little confused.
So you get those people who take their space, right? You take your space and figure your stuff out. But when you have someone
you're on the other end, the receiving end of somebody taking space.
Right. So I'm there and I'm like, Bell, like, yo, like, nigga, you're my best fucking friend. Like, if you're going through something, talk to me, bro. I'm here to help you. Like, you don't have to, like, although it's never happened, but like, I'm talking about like a good span of time where we just not speaking. You're like, Pete, my bad. I was going through something. Like, that's not that's not our dynamic. But if it was, I'd be offended. I'd be like, yo, my man, like, we don't work through all, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't work through all type of stuff before. How is this any different? You know what I'm saying? So we've had this conversation already.
You know how you sound like low, because you're making it about you.
Right. But my thing is, it's because I love you and I want to be there for you. And I want to support you.
What if the best way for you to support me is allow me to go down this journey?
And I understand that. And I will give you that grace. It doesn't mean I won't take it personal. No, I do.
Then you don't understand it then.
No, I do. I won't make it an issue for you, but I'll be in my feelings until we can come back full circle.
But you're making it about you. That's what I'm just playing devil's advocate.
No, I get it. And I understand that, but that doesn't.
Here's the question. What's the ultimate goal?
For the individual to heal. Right.
For me to heal.
Mm-hmm.
So if me healing is the best way for me to heal, being away or whatever, right? This is a hypothetical circumstance. Me being away, why does that bother you? If the goal and the common goal is for me to heal,
I think it's because it's the feelings. People want to be there for you if they care about you, right?
Yeah. But what I'm saying, if they care about you, then they would allow you to go down this path. Because by you not giving me the blessing is making it about you. Therefore, you don't necessarily, and I'm not saying, again, this is hypothetical, it can appear that you care more about your emotional interest in this friendship than my mental health.
So, and that was a huge lesson for me to learn, and I've accepted it. But like I said, I can sit back in my space and go, "Damn, this nigga. I ain't talked to this nigga P in 3 months, man. Like we talk, you know, he's been through some stuff and he's communicated with me before, but now he running from me. Like, what is it? Something about me that's making him, that's not allowing him to heal? That's what's going through my head. But I'm not. Again, I'm not going, P, what's up, yo? I ain't talked to you in a while. I'm like, oh, P, everything good? You been okay? But he don't know that I was in my feelings in the process. I'm still in my feelings, but I'm not making it an issue for you. I'm still giving you your grace, but handling my shit on my own, I guess.
The other question I have in that same exact scenario, if P hit you, Chief, and was like, bro, this guy, like prior to going on his journey, like, hey, look, I got this going on. I got this going on. I'm super stressed out. I just had a panic attack. Here's what I need from you. To let me be. Right? Let me be. I'll double back when I'm ready. If that conversation happened,
I absolutely would give him the space he need, but would still feel some type of way.
The reason why I asked that is because if you don't know that, your feelings are valid regardless. But if you don't know the context and you jump to a conclusion, because right, with the lack of information, we create assumptions, right, or we create a narrative. But the fact is, you do know, and that's and again, this is just me playing devil's advocate. Like, I don't have a dog in the fight. I'm just saying. I think you and Lo, that's the thing. Y'all suffer from that same thing. Because you care, not because you're selfish, but because you care. So let me just make that.
But it comes across. I can see how it comes across that way. So that's why I can't make an issue about it, or, you know, ruin that time or space for you. But I still got to sort through it myself because I want to be there for the people I care about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
I think that's where communication comes in.
Right.
Where communication is key to some extent. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with you writing out your feelings and sending them to her if that's the way it works for you to communicate how you're feeling. But I think at the end of the day, it does come down to maybe a quick little conversation like, yo, just let me be in my space. That way, like, Chief, if you were still going to feel that way, at least you knew that he acknowledged your attempt. You know what I mean? And kind of vice versa.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't happen. It's happened in different situations before, but I couldn't help but feel some type of way about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah. And one could argue the other side, right? Yep. Like, through sickness and in health, right? Like, it's like, Chief, you're a damn I was gonna say minister. You're an officiant. You know the all the words. But my point is, someone could say, well, Belle, that's what she's there for, right? Like, that's the commitment you made to her, to allow her in to help you. You know what I'm saying? And you're right. I just don't know how to get there. You know, and it's not for a lack of her trying and a lack of her making the space comfortable. This is a me thing.
I feel like this is a conversation that kind of opens that door in towards of helping you get there. I think just being aware that it's happening, like being more aware that is what it is.
I think you're already doing it. I think about you saying writing down your thoughts. There's like a hierarchy to this, like, vulnerability shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't even have it all mapped out. Like, I feel like we figure out a lot of shit in our conversations, but the one thing I appreciate about this one with you, this is an obvious journey for you. And a lot of times when I hear you talk, if you're at a crossroads, to me, you seem to be pretty, like, clear. You know what I'm saying? And I think for this one, this sounds like a challenge for you. You know what I'm saying? Based upon how you handle your adversity. But I think writing them thoughts down with the intent to share to your spouse is a step. I can get why the spouse would feel away, why the best friend would feel away, but I think you're already doing it. You're already doing it. It's gonna lead to you eventually being able to talk and communicate one day. You know what I'm saying? Because you're already doing a step towards communication.
Yeah, but the two things that's been consistent. One, I've always been a better with her, written communicator than not. That's one.
Oh, okay.
Two, every time I send her something like this to outline or express what I've been through, it's always after the fact.
Not in real time.
Yeah, it's after the fact. Because, and in my defense, sometimes I don't even know that I'm going through it until I come out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm wired to just persevere and push. You know what I'm saying? So when I get a chance to get clear, I'm like, wow, a nigga was really depressed for these last 3 to 4 months.
I feel that completely, bud. That's how I am with writing. Like my poems and shit, I'm not the most effective, and I'm practicing it more. I'm not the most effective writing in real time. A lot of times I like to sit on my thoughts and feelings so that when I am ready to articulate, I have a better grasp on it emotionally. But I totally feel that. Like sometimes it takes like after the fact to be able to be like, okay, I now understand what I was going through. So let me put you on to what was happening. I think it just gets tricky. Huh?
Go ahead. My bad, I cut you off.
I was gonna say I think it just gets tricky in that in between space. It can get tricky as far as communication and help and support while you're figuring this shit out based upon what works for you. You know?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna join you with that commitment. I need to reconnect with my old therapist. It's been a while. Because what I was thinking about is like, bro, I haven't cried in 5 years.
Like at all?
Nope. That's not true. I cried when my son was born, but like very briefly.
Like you talking about like a hearty cry and shit.
Yeah. The last time I cried was at my wedding. And it wasn't even because of the weddings, because this motherfucking speech. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's the crazy part. I say that to say that there's issues with me as it pertains to vulnerability. So I need to figure that out, or work with somebody to help me figure it out. So
no doubt. AP, what does safe look and feel like for you? When you hear the word safe, what does it look and feel like for you? Not just necessarily safe space, but just safe in general. Can you remember back to a time where you felt unsafe? Two-part question, I guess.
Yeah, I can think of plenty of times as a kid where I felt unsafe, like in a dangerous situation, some shit popping off. But if we're talking when it comes to women,
it's in general, like the last time you felt unsafe.
Shit, last time one that fits is where I'm at right now, man, in this garage. One time we was pulling up to Sarai's mom's crib, and some niggas was robbing the garage right there. They was just in there. I just called her to open the garage. We was 45 seconds away. She opened it, and within literally 45 seconds, some niggas was patrolling the neighborhood, backed their car in, and was stealing all my father-in-law's shit. I pull in, and I got the whole family in the car. The whole family was in the car, and I ain't got nothing on me. So when I pulled in, I had to make a decision whether I was going to block them into the garage, because I could have stopped the car to where they couldn't have got out the cul-de-sac type area, or leave space for them to get out. So I left space and opened the car, and they got in their car and sped out. But I had to do that because I didn't have nothing on me. I didn't know what they had. So if they decided to shoot up the car because it was blocked in there, everybody can be gone. You know what I mean? So I felt unsafe then because I had my whole family in the whip, and I didn't have nothing I felt to really defend them in that moment if it came down to it. So that's the last time I can remember feeling like genuinely unsafe. If I talk about with women, I'm so opposite with y'all. Like I hit a protector and provider thing, but for me, I have to know I have a safe space with the woman I'm with in order to continue to do certain things in a way. Like I will bust my ass, I will work, I will do whatever I need to do, but I need to be able to I need to be able to lay my head on you. Like I got to. Like I need that. And I don't need much. I don't need to be baby, but I need her to be the space when I don't talk to a lot of people. Y'all, you know what I'm saying? I can get better at that shit, but this is the furthest I go with who. I need her to be there when I need to talk.
So your safe space is more emotionally.
Is definitely more emotionally. Definitely more emotional based. I need to have a place to go outside of this fucking notebook when I have these thoughts and feelings going on in my head or just something I want to express. And that's what gives me the comfort to continue to work towards providing and work towards protecting and work towards sustainability and whatever my goals are, but I need that space and I want to be able to get it off because I don't like how that shit feel with me. So my safe space definitely comes from like emotional support. And I think now it's even heightened with the me releasing my mother, you know what I mean, with love, but me just releasing her. I know now it's definitely vital that I have that space and I try not to be a burden to Soraya in that case, man, because sometimes I think because I've made certain decisions, I may place an extra load of responsibility on her to hold that emotional space for me. And there are times when she has her own things she's going through, or times where she can only give me so much, and not to her fault, but just reality. And I may place some of the I don't know, I may place some of the residual effect of that subconsciously and unknowingly on her through me being like upset or feeling like I wasn't heard enough or you didn't
Do
take
you
the time to listen. And that's not always fair, but my safe space definitely is an emotional support thing when it comes to women.
do you catch yourself in those moments when you feel like you might have like, you know, basically violated your own safe space, if you will?
I don't think so. No, I've never thought about this until you like Bill. Like I
Have you ever? So
you
I remember we were. I don't remember where it was, but the conversation was kind of like, I stopped at Bell and I'm like, yo, I got this going on. I just unload, but didn't necessarily say, yo, like, do you have the capacity right now to sit there and help me sort through some of this shit? You know what I'm saying? Have you ever checked in with her in that regard? Because she goes through her own things too. I know her job is super stressful. But like, babe,
right.
I'm going through this right now. Do you have the space right now to hold me in this moment? If not, I can process it. But if you don't have it, then I don't want to put this on you.
Well, I think recently what I've done because work for her is such high demand and she's so drained when she gets back from work is I think two things have happened. I think initially I got in my feelings about it, and I don't think I was being conscious enough of all the work she puts in and what she has going on. And here I am just waiting to be heard, not taking into consideration. So I don't think I've necessarily caught myself in that situation. I think what happens was then I went into whatever mode is something I need to deal with where like I get mad or angry, start telling myself things to validate my disappointment. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm disappointed. So my brain, whatever the thoughts are, I allow them to start filling in to kind of feed that space and not take into consideration what you said, like the space she's in. Or I go extremely too far because I know her job and I do this now. I don't say anything. And I use the fact that she works so much as the reason why I don't. But in my mind, I'm conflicted. In my spirit, I'm conflicted because I feel like I need to get this shit out. So I haven't found a comfortable balance of that yet. I don't think. Yeah, I haven't found a comfortable balance. And I think that has something to do with me. But yeah, yeah, that's my answer to that, man. I've only
So
one more thing. I've
okay.
only thought about safe spaces when it comes to our safety as black men. That's the only time I've had this discussion. When it was specifically about like, we ain't got a safe space to just be black men and be like that, but not from a space of who, my significant other and what I need as a safe space in a woman, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
No. So definitely, I agree with that whole sentiment because I remember, when, not that it's slowed down much, but maybe not in the media, but when black men were getting killed left and right, it was heavy. It was heavy on us for a while, and we didn't have that space to kind of just let it out. Like, yo, like we scared, bro. Like legitimately scared to go outside right now. It was hot for a couple summers ago. Nevertheless, when I think of so there's the two-part question, but so when I think of safe space, I think it encompasses a lot of what you said, P, but I very much so carry the same sentiment as Bell. Like, but I'm super sensitive in that regard. When I want to, if you've created a safe space for me, and it's weird because in my interaction with women, I've learned to be a good listener. So I tend to provide a good safe space for them to be emotionally safe and feel like they can tell me anything. And I think with that, it gives the perception that I am the same way, but I'm very reluctant to speak about certain things and don't necessarily lean into that same level of vulnerability that they do. And then it's like, why don't you communicate for a living? Why aren't you talking? Why aren't you saying anything? And it could be, I don't know necessarily why, but I think it's just, I sort through it on my own and maybe talk about it on the aftermath and not even talk about it at all. But I know for me, once that safe space is violated, I no longer feel welcome. I can love you and still, appreciate everything we have, but I won't. I'll stop.
What does being violated look like?
I was gonna ask the same thing.
So it's a communication thing. Like when you do kind of like just like when if you've taken your space and it becomes an argument now or like some tension about how I feel about you taking your space. If I'm
kettle pot.
Absolutely. But I'm like, at that point, I'm like, well, listen, you're taking offense to this now. I know you don't understand me and my space is no longer safe. So I don't want to talk about this anyway. You know what I'm saying? Pot, kettle, pot for sure. But I also think just communication in regards to like, if I do finally decide to lean in and be vulnerable and it gets thrown back in my face or you get defensive or there's an argument or something like that, it just completely ruins the space for me and I don't feel welcome back. Because you'll be vulnerable and it'll get thrown back in your face. And at that point, I'll never tell you anything again. You know what I'm saying? From the smallest detail.
Thrown back in your face, like meaning you got vulnerable, you were in a safe space, and 6 months later you get in an argument, and it's like,
and it resurfaces.
Your bitch ass was crying the other day. Now you want to be all tough.
Boom, boom. I mean, that's extreme, but that's reality though of what happens in many cases. Go ahead, P. I got.
Oh no. I was just agreeing with you. I'm like that too, especially when you're doing the work and you may know like in your head that you're approaching this situation differently and it's requiring something from you that you don't necessarily have, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm putting forth some extra effort in this vulnerability moment right here. And when that shit ain't received in a manner that I think is appropriate, I'm upset because one, this shit ain't easy for me to do right now. You know what I'm saying? And the response isn't nurturing. It's not. It ain't making me feel like I want to do this shit again. So I think that's a hard one to get over too because you still got to give people grace. You know what I'm saying? Like I can feel this way, but it may not necessarily be their fault. They may not know how to deal with this shit, handle this shit, receive it, and it's trial and error. You know what I'm saying? Like human interaction is trial and error. So it's a tricky space when you get offended. It's different for me because I'm married. You can say you don't want to go back, but I'm about to see her and the next time I turn the corner, she's right there still. So it's not logical.
To my point about communication though, like it's imperative that we find ways to communicate these things because you there, you not stuck with you in there forever ever.
Yeah.
So you've got to find a way to recreate, cultivate, and keep your safe space safe. Because if it happens in a marriage, it's gonna be tough to get back. And I was also thinking about, like, I asked you guys, when have you felt the most unsafe? And honestly speaking, I can't, not that I'm, I ain't afraid of no man like that. I don't think I've been in a situation where I felt unsafe in a very long time. But the only thing that can come to mind is I didn't feel safe about myself, if you will. So the last time I remember feeling unsafe, which is crazy, was in the courtroom at my brother's trial. And I remember like I'm sitting there trying to, trying to be to lead the family, but want to go over there and wring this nigga's neck. And I'm sitting there like my hands are sweating, and I felt like, when I think of unsafe, like I felt unsafe, like about myself, maybe my mental capacity in that moment. Like that's the last time I felt unsafe. Not like I felt, I don't even know if unsafe is the word in that moment, but when I think about it, that's all I can relate to. I couldn't control. I could, but I was having a hard time controlling myself, which made me feel unsafe, if that makes sense.
I want to get back to that in one second.
Get that.
But one thing I want to point out, that two very different approaches between, I would say you and Prentice are the same, Chief, in terms of your approach. Whereas I just make the executive decision, and I don't give a person an opportunity to not be in a position to receive what I'm about to say, because I just don't say it. You see what I'm saying? Or I say it once I've already worked through what I need to work through.
But even then, you've had to have established that this person is a safe enough space for you to communicate that, even after you've worked through it.
Agreed. In that same vein, in terms of established, right? How often are we having conversations about how to have these conversations?
How often are we having these conversations about how to have these conversations? Right.
Boundaries, right? It's
right.
Like, because, your burdens may not be their burdens, and vice versa, but you will both bear burdens, right? And it's just like, how do you communicate that? When do you communicate that? How often, right? In what environment, right? Like, because you don't know, like, you just don't know, like, and that's one thing that the therapist has helped Lo and I with, which is like how to effectively communicate. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have a style, the person you're with has a style. You both think you're doing it the right way, but that person may not be able to receive that information the way you intend it because of how you're saying it, when you're saying it, so on and so forth. So I think as important as how safe can this space be is how do you make it safe from a boundary standpoint to have a safe conversation?
You know what I think you gotta do? I think you gotta it takes awareness in the moment. I feel like it takes being.
I think it has to be done before the moment.
Yeah,
because in the moment,
the boundaries got to be set.
Yeah, it's too late in the moment because now you're emotionally driven.
Yeah, well, I feel like So before would be ideal. I think it still matters in the moment, because I don't think you can have the conversation before and then get to that space where it's either going to be emotionally based, logically based, or you're going to be able to catch it and be like, okay, so right now I feel like you're talking to me this way, or I feel like this is happening. You got to be able to catch that moment so that it doesn't just, glide by you in totality. I feel like that's the tricky part, man.
So one thing I just thought about, like something I do at work, and I know this is completely different than relationship, but it's still, it's still an interpersonal relationship. But I'll call, Prentice is doing whatever he's doing in class, and I'm like, Prentice, I need to see you in my office. And when Prentice gets there, I've grown accustomed to giving the student some space, giving them a moment or two just to kind of woosah before we get right into whatever they're doing. And it could be even you came out of class without a problem, you came over, sat down, I still give you that moment to sit and process and try to, I guess, cultivate a safe space, because ultimately my office is, where you go to get in trouble. You dig what I'm saying? So I've made it a process of saying, do you need a minute? Or you know what, I'm going to give you a minute, then I'll come back and we'll talk. And it's been like that for a while, and it can literally be a minute, 30 seconds, or I can give them 10. But I think if we took that same grace with our partners and said, listen, do you need a minute? Because it's just hypothetically say, in the reversal of safe space, you create a safe space for her, you see something's not right, and you don't know whether or not it's a good time to talk about it, but because you care, you want to help, and in that moment you could be pushy, and then that just makes the situation worse.
Exactly. It's
I
like,
think
how do
it
we
would be
approach it?
it would be paramount to just to ask or be like, listen, or just let them know I'm gonna give you some space, and if you want to talk about it, we can later on, or I'll check back in with you a little while or whatever. But I think that's kind of paramount to a boundary, as Bell was saying. But in order to help keep and our spaces safe, we should definitely allow some grace.
because we all got excuse me, we all have triggers,
Yep.
right? So it's like I like feedback, right? Like when I mean I like feedback, like I want to get better. So tell me what I'm doing wrong. But she's the opposite. I can't go to her and be like, I got some feedback for you, because she shuts down, like gets defensive, and it's like I didn't even say what I had to say yet, but just that word triggers her. You know what I'm saying? So again, going to therapy helped us with how to communicate in real time, right? It's little words that you can say to ease or drop the guard with your spouse or partner. You know what I'm saying? But again, we gotta have those conversations though.
Fuck, I forgot my point. Let's go.
I want the knife.
Yeah, damn, I forgot my point though.
Please.
Go ahead. Shit, that was a good one.
I was talking about trigger words, feedback.
Triggers are.
Your dad's not gonna call you for your birthday.
How do you? I need to have. You still forgot
No, you didn't hear what he said.
what?
He was he's trying to remind me of what he talked about. Like trigger words, feedback. Your dad's not gonna call you for your birthday.
Fuck up. Hey, y'all, all our people listening, man. Hey, how y'all feel about how we be doing these unhealthy ass absent father jokes while trying to get healthy? I want y'all to write this, because I feel like it's a common thing, and I feel like it's necessary. But for some reason, we can't leave the "your daddy wasn't there" jokes alone.
You want me to
Hey,
have my
man.
dad call you on your birthday, Chief?
My young boys started a podcast a while ago, and they started off like cracking them jokes, and I'm like, yo, I watched it, one of my homegirls, and she just felt like y'all needed to share more love with each other. You can't start the podcast off hot like that, you know what I'm saying? Coming at
Do
each
they
other
still
next.
do this? They still do the podcast?
I don't know if they still do. It hasn't been as consistent, but they still get it in. Anyways, we're talking about safe spaces. All right, so in closing, I guess.
Wait, before we close, you put women being coachable in sex, but not emotion.
So in that regard, what I was gonna say was, how do we coach women to curate and keep the space safe? And what in many cases, and we probably get a little backlash for this, but they've been more apt to. They've been eager to learn about what we want sexually. They're a little more reluctant to hear the conversation when we apply it emotionally. Emotionally turns into a riff. Oh, but you did it, but you did that. But when say toot that ass up and twist, bend around. Oh, my man like it when I do it like that, but he also likes when you listen and you don't.
I don't know that I've had that conversation.
What conversation?
Like,
no, because okay, so in the moment you'll show her what you want sexually. In the moment you'll move a certain way, grab a certain way, twist and turn.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the listening conversation. Like, I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, so I just thought about that. But in the moment, sexually, whatever you're doing, you can demonstrate, illustrate, show what you want, and she'll adhere to it. She'll listen. She'll work with it. But in the moment of tension or whatever, or a moment of vulnerability, it can sometimes go by the wayside.
I think it's two things. I think it's a lack of. I think it can be a lack of desire and a lack of familiarity. Like, in the moment when shit is hot and running, yeah, it's easy because y'all synced up sexually. I think when there's different emotions that are trying to connect, when it comes to communication, when it comes to providing a safe space, I think that's challenging for women, because
it's challenging for everybody.
I don't think they're really used to men who even are approaching them like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think the average man is talking to a woman about how you can provide a safe space for me.
So one of the things that I encourage you fellas to do was it also helps you listen, but to have the conversation with your lady, and the question was, how can I love you better? And it was like dudes and women weren't trying to like hear the things that, you know, they may be their partner may have defined that they're doing wrong or areas they can improve in. But I think it's an interesting conversation to have if you ask your lady, you know, how can I love you better, and to hear the things you might be falling short on. So,
but then that begs the communication question. It's like, if these things have been so apparent, why haven't you said this to me before? Why'd I have to ask you?
and again, Bell, you in particular, you have your, you know, your quarterly check-ins that might want to be one of the things you tap
those
into.
are now typically by way of the therapist. Like, I mean, we've been going to therapy, bro, for like, shit, I don't know, 8 years, probably 7 years, something like that. And it is good to have an objective opinion. In our case, an objective expert, right? Because like we had talked about it, Chief, like even co-parenting, right? It's like, I don't know if there's a therapy co-parenting market. I imagine there is.
I meant to look today, and when all that shit happened at work,
but I can see how that person would be so essential, because you got to think, if you're co-parenting, you're not in the same house, you're no longer in a relationship, you may or may not have the same values anymore, you may or may not see life the same anymore, but now you got to come together to raise a child. So it's like, you're right in your mind and they're right in their mind. So it's like, how do you get past that? So I don't know. I just think, if I've been loving you the wrong way and you didn't say nothing about it,
it ain't wrong. It's just better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, times change, and couples evolve and grow. The love you were giving them then might not be what they necessarily need in that current moment. You know what I'm saying?
That's fair.
Yeah. And I think things change too. Like, you know, our space doesn't always look the same.
Right.
Sometimes what I need is honestly, now I'm thinking about it. Sometimes what I need is a safe space, is not for you, not to lay my head on you, but for you to allow me to move and make these moves and these decisions without any kickback.
Here's a
You know what I mean?
question.
If you ever be able to trust what I'm saying right now, you know what I mean? Like, right now in this moment, the safest thing you can do for me is trust me on this decision and let me go with this shit.
But what if you're wrong?
You said what?
What if you're wrong?
Well, I think if you're wrong, the job of your partner is to protect you from danger, right? So
sometimes
if you're wrong, obviously.
But sometimes the job of the partner is to protect you from you.
Absolutely, I agree with that too. So I don't think it's void of speaking up or out against bad decisions or something you don't agree with. I think there's a way to do it. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can acknowledge what it is I'm suggesting. If you feel it's a bad idea, okay, I hear you, but you know, this is what I think. Have you considered this? Rather than sometimes just being like, fuck no, hell no. You know what I mean? And like you said, there's certain trigger words and trigger things that can happen.
Yeah.
You know, mess up a conversation. But yeah, if you're wrong, you're obligated to speak up.
No doubt. So last gems on what you would recommend people/women do to help curate a safe space and keep it that way. Couple nuggets, P.
I think that's on the man, first and foremost, but I think you have to be willing and you have to stay open. I think, you know, Sarai said something to me. We was out drinking and shit last night at the bar. And she was like, you know, she acknowledged a couple things that she felt that she needed to work on and give to me, and acknowledge that, you know, who she was in the beginning, who she presented herself to be in the beginning, is who she wants to continue to be, you know, in our lives. And I thought that was real dope. And I think women overall can kind of keep that idea in mind. Like, if you start off being open and willing, continue to be open and willing. The challenges you may face in the process may be different than in the beginning, but you got to find a way to stay open for your man. You know what I mean? To be receptive to the idea of a safe space changing, but changing along with him. So just don't you can't get tired. Like if that's what you're presenting and that's what you say you're about, then stay that way. Because like you said, there's often times with us men where we're used to something being one way and the moment it changes, we no longer feel safe. Because we're like, what just happened? This is not who you were prior. This is not what you presented to me before. So I would honestly say to women, remain open. The work is never done on both sides. It's always work to do.
Yeah, for sure. And communicating about that work to be done. And when you feel that shift, it's definitely good to communicate so we know where it's at and why it happened.
Agreed.
So for me, I think I just feel like listening, communication is so key and clutch in terms of creating a safe space and keeping it that way. I want to be able to communicate how I'm feeling and disclose things that may be uncomfortable and get a calm response in return. I don't want to be able to, because for me, safe space means being vulnerable. And sometimes being vulnerable is telling hard truths. And when you tell those hard truths, I think how they're received and we communicate about them ultimately, like if I can come to you and tell you something about us, about me, that how you can love me better or what I'm going through and how you can help me with that, and you take offense to it, it puts me in a spot where I no longer feel I can communicate with you. And once I stop that, I feel like the safe space is violated. So now it's like, well, you know what? Let me just compartmentalize and keep pushing and deal with it on my own. Deal with it on my own and keep that party going. I would love to be able to continually come to you when I got, issues and know that you're willing to hear me and understand that it's, me, it's not me versus you, it's us versus the problem.
What I have to say to that is women, men, people, don't put yourself in a position if you're not ready to be concerned with anybody outside of yourself. All right. If you can't be concerned with anybody outside of yourself, truth is you're probably not ready to be in a relationship and or ready to curate a safe space for somebody. You're not gonna, because you can't even curate a safe space for yourself.
That was gonna be my point, Bell. Essentially, you got to create that safe space for you, obviously, before you can be a safe space for somebody else.
Like you have to be okay with who you are. Because think about it, right? When these things come up, more often than not, it derives from insecurity, right? Like, hey, I need you to, if you can love me this way, well, why the way I'm loving you ain't enough?
Yeah.
Right? Like, well, there's clearly some insecurities you got to work through. I'm telling you what I need. And your first instinct is to get defensive. So I must have said something to you that potentially triggered you because it's something that you haven't gotten through yet.
Right. And oftentimes it's like, can you, as cliche and as simple as it sounds, it's like, hey, can you fill this void for me? Oh, by the way, can you fill this void for me? Can you fill that void for me? And I mean, I'm still working on it, but in this moment, I need your support in filling this void and that void and that void. So it can be a lot, but I get it.
Long story short, even the best relationships is hard AF. So if you ain't got the stomach for it, there's plenty of dating apps out there where you can have fun. But even the best relationships is hard.
For sure. Final thoughts on the entire thing. I think some good points were made, and we got to be cognizant of how we trying to protect our women and could be hurting ourselves in the same token, I guess, but like in terms of like, not wanting to violate that space and not wanting to put your burden on her. I think oftentimes some of them like not live for it, but they're waiting for that moment to be able to support their man, because we do so much of the heavy lifting in many cases.
And we don't give them that opportunity in a lot of cases.
Right. The book Mindset, get it. Boundaries, Bell, you said that boundaries I think are super important though. Like having defined boundaries and communicating around those are super important to curating and keeping the space safe. And lastly, Pete started with, he was grieving. I think it's important for us to continue to take the time to grieve, and don't be afraid to reach out to people who may have gone through the experience, because they may have some gems that can help you get through your moment. P. Final thought.
I think I need to reassess my safe space. I think I need to reassess what I need out of my safe space because I've often said the same thing, and I think sometimes there's times where I need to just. I know there are times where I need to just man up in a sense in certain things and stop expecting somebody else to give me something. I need to give myself first. So yeah, those are my final thoughts.
Bo.
Love yourself unconditionally. That's what I say. I have to say. I used to do this exercise, and I try it. Right, try it. I used to during my heavy self-development days, I used to look in the mirror and say, I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And believe it or not, some people struggle with that. Some people can't say it. And if you can't say it to yourself, how do you expect somebody else to say it to you? And then when they do say it to you, you won't be able to receive it because you can't even say it to yourself, which could mean that you don't love yourself unconditionally and or you're not ready to receive love yet because of some things you have to get through. So before you can create a safe space for anybody, you got to create one for yourself. And it starts with loving yourself unconditionally. Final thoughts.
Word. That's what's up. Fellas, I appreciate this conversation. I think it definitely served well for all of us in terms of moving forward. It's dope. I love y'all boys.
Love you too.
People, like, share, subscribe. We don't say it enough. We don't say it at all, actually. But yeah, definitely like, share it, and subscribe to our page, and tell a friend to tell a friend so we can keep this party rolling. We appreciate y'all. We are on all social media platforms at All Black Men Need Therapy. Website coming soon. The level up is continuing to happen. P.S. fellas, I looked over some stuff from the past. Like, it's just the way we even communicate now. The level up is real, and it's pretty dope. And we don't even realize about, like, if you go back to a couple of our first episodes, just how fluid we are now is so different. It's so different, bro.
I mean, shit, this June will be 3 years.
Yeah, so we moving in a good direction. We should definitely have way more episodes in 3 years, but whatever. We give us a follow on social media, All Black Men Need Therapy. Email us at allblackmenneedtherapy@gmail.com.
Also, guys, email us if we're throwing around some ideas about doing a segment that we'll chop up and put it on Snapchat or Twitter, but just a segment, not the whole episode. Give us some ideas on what you would like to hear us dedicate some time to, whether it be fan mail, supporter mail, or mail-in topics or current events. Like what let us know what you would like to hear have its own segment.
Yeah.
Kind of like how the check-in has its own segment.
Yeah, we were thinking about cutting the check-in off of the episode and making that like a little short on YouTube or something, just to check in if you wanted, if you cared about that. So the podcast starts right off into the topic. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but we'll figure out how it goes. But I feel like we need to get right into the topic, fellas. We need, and rather, the check-ins are very important. I agree, but
we can do them, people, just not record them.
Yeah, that too.
Make them part of the episode.
We need some feedback on that, y'all. So hit us up. Let us know what y'all think about the check-in, where we can put it, what we should do with it, or whatever. Nevertheless, per usual, do us all a favor. Tell Prentice to get his light fixed. Hug a black man today. You muted.
See, muted, but I thought he wasn't saying that, which made it even funnier.
You muted. There's something wrong with your service, B.
Do it.
And tomorrow.
Do it.
We out, y'all.
I'm delayed.